Okay, so with this session we'll be continuing with factorising, but these questions are more challenging and I'll show you why. If we have a look at these questions here that we will be factorising, the first one you notice is a negative out here on the first term. So that's why these ones are more challenging, is because we have to also take out negatives. And once you get the hang of it, it is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And you also notice, for example, with C and D, instead of only having two terms, like 1, 2, with C, we have 1, 2, 3 terms. There's a takeaway and a plus sitting in there, and the same with D. So that's why these are a little bit more challenging, but you actually follow the same steps. So you should be able to do this if you understand basic factorization or basic factorizing. Now, with the first one, you notice that if I asked you to factorize this, we've got two x's on this side and a y on this side. And you think, well, there's nothing that I can take out because there's nothing that's the same on both sides. However, what you can take out is this negative here. We don't want this negative to be sitting on the first term, which is the x squared. So just like normal factorizing, we get our brackets ready. In the middle, in between the x squared and a y, I have a takeaway. Now, usually we just write down this takeaway straight away, but we can't do that now because I have to take out this negative here. So this is where it can get a bit tricky, but you'll get the hang of it. So now I'm going to take out this negative and put it on the outside. And I know that my x squared and my y, there is nothing in common between them, so I can't take anything out. So they're going to be my leftovers, x squared and a y. They're automatically leftovers. Now, this is where you have to be careful. If I took out this negative, that means that the negative that I have in the middle has to be a positive inside the brackets. And the reason for that is when I expand this, if I go negative times the x squared and negative times the positive y, what will happen is, well, really there's a 1 here. So it's like I'm saying minus 1 times x squared. That gives me negative x squared, which is fine. And minus 1 times y, or a positive y, leaves me with a negative y. Okay, and if you notice, do I have the same thing that I started off with? Yes, I do. So I have factorized this correctly, but I have to be careful. So the trick is, if you ever take out a negative outside the brackets, like we did here when we're factorizing, any negatives inside the brackets or positives, so any negatives you have to make a positive, and any positive in the brackets you have to make a negative, because when we expand it, we go back to what we started off with. We'll try another one that's not from the sheet, but I'll just make it up now. For B, let's just try a different one. What if I have this? Negative a squared b plus ac. Okay, so once again, we are factorizing this, so we get our brackets ready. And before I put a plus in the middle, I've got to be careful. I notice I have a negative out the front, so I will take out this negative as a factor. Okay, so if I take it out, that means the plus in the middle, I have to make it a negative. I must do that because you notice that a negative times a negative will give me a positive. And now with this expression here, I've got two a's on this side and an a on that side. That means I can take out an a. So I can take out, my maximum is 1a. So 1 from there, I'm left with a 1. And 2 take away 1, I'm left with an a on this side. And my leftover goes on this side here. My B is here. Do I have any B's on this side? No, I can't take out a B, so it stays there. And of course the C, there are no C's on this side, so the C is a leftover on this side. And I have factorized this. And if I expand it, you'll see what happens. A negative A times a positive AB gives me a negative A squared B. And remember, a times a is a squared. And you notice how the negative is now there? So negative and the invisible positive make a negative. Now, a minus a times a c, or a negative c, a negative and a negative make a positive. And a times c is just ac. And you can see we have what we started off with, and that our positive, we had to make it a negative because when we multiply with a negative, it becomes a positive. And that's just it. So the trick is, not sounding confusing, but the trick is if you take out a negative as a factor, so if you ever take out a negative outside the brackets, make sure if you have a positive inside the brackets, like over here, you write it as a negative, or with A, if we have a negative, you write it as a positive. Okay, because when we multiply it out, we want to get what we started off with. And a negative makes a positive, and a negative and a positive makes a negative. And that's just it. Now, before we continue with the other questions, I just want to show you this question here. And if we have to factorize this, you notice that it looks a little bit different because instead of only having two terms that we have always been using, we now have 1, 2, 3 terms. But we do the exact same thing like we normally do, and that is get your brackets ready. Now, the different thing is here, we have two pluses in between these three terms. So I must now write two pluses inside my brackets. And you notice that we will have 1, 2, 3 leftover sections, just like up here, 1, 2, 3 terms. And that's the only reason why it's different. And now, when we take out a common factor, we have to make sure that we can take it out from not just 1 and 2 sides, but 1, 2, 3. Okay, all three terms. So for example, I'm starting off with my A because my A is first. I have to check and see, do I have an A in every other section, in every other term? Let's see, I've got an A there, and I must have an A on this side to take it out, and yes, I do. And I've got one A here, one A there, one A there, so I can take out one A in total, and it's gone from there. It's really 1, take away 1, and take away 1. So my A's are now gone. I've taken an A as a factor. Let's check my B's. Do I have a B in all three terms? Yes, 1, 2, 3. I've got one B in each one. So take away one B is my factor. And 1 take away 1, I know is a 1. Take away 1 and take away 1. There I go. So far my leftovers is just 1, 1, and 1. But I'm not writing them in because I can see that I'll end up with some more leftovers. But my middle term, I've got nothing here. I've got 1 times 1. So I guess I can write my 1 in the middle. It's in the middle. Now with C, I've got a C on this side. Yep. Do I have a C here? No. And I've got a C over here. I cannot take my C out because I've got no C in the middle. So it's automatically a leftover on this side and a leftover on the end side. There we go. And I've used my C, so I'll just cross them off. And last of all, I've got a D sitting here. I can't take it out because it's the only D I have. It's not on this side or that side, and it's a leftover on this side here. Okay, and that would be your final answer. I'll just move my plus so it's not so squishy. Okay, and you can see that how we're factorizing in the exact same way. It's just that now we've got, if I expanded this, I'd go AB times CD, AB times 1, and AB times C. It's all positive, so I don't have to worry about negatives or positives. So what I'll be left with is AB times CD is A, B, C, and D. I've got a plus. AB times 1, yep, it's AB. It's all positive, so plus AB times C is A, B, C. And I have ended up with what I started off with. And the only difference was this had 3 terms. So just remember, whatever you take out, you have to take out from 1, 2, and this time 3 terms. And if we had 4 terms, you do the exact same thing. Okay, no matter how many terms you have, whatever you take out, you must take it out from all of those terms. So if we have a look at B from your worksheet, we notice that we have 1, 2, 3 terms that we have to look at, and also there's a negative outside the front which we have to take out. So my first step is just get my brackets ready as normal. Now I'm not going to write a minus and a plus because I have to take out my negative. If I take this out here, which I'm going to do now, there's my negative. I'll leave some space in case I have any other factors to take out. If I've taken out a negative, I must now, instead of a negative, inside the brackets, I'll be putting a plus, and instead of a plus, I'll be putting a negative over here. Because remember, like before, if you take out a negative, anything else you put in here has to be the opposite. Because a negative and a positive make a negative, and a negative times a negative will make a positive. Now, I've got two x's on this side. Do I have x's everywhere, anywhere else? No. So I cannot take my x out. So x squared is automatically a leftover. Y, I've got no y's on the other side, so y is in the middle as a leftover, and c is a leftover on the end. I can't take out any variables, any letters, because there's nothing on all three sections. And that's my final answer. So I'll just write my negative that I took out closer, just so it looks a bit neater. Okay, and remember, yes, there's a negative there, but it's really a -1, and it's saying -1 times the x squared minus 1 times the y and -1 times c. And I'll end up with what I started off with. So -1 times x squared, yep, that's negative x squared. -1 times a y, or a positive y, is -y. And -1 times a negative c, that's a positive c. And I have what I started off with. Now, question C, my first check is, do I have a negative that I'll be taking out? Is there a negative in front of the first term? No, there isn't. So I won't be taking out any negatives, so I don't have to worry about writing the opposite. So that should be your first check when doing challenging factorizing problems, and that is always check and see if there's a negative in front of your first term, and if there is, just take it out. So I can write down my negative, my takeaway there, and my plus there, and I know that I'll be having 1, 2, and 3 leftovers. So let's have a look and see. Starting with our A's, I've got 2 A's here, I've got 1 A in the middle, and I've got 1 A on the end. My smallest amount out of these 3 is just that 1 A, so I can take out an A as a highest common factor. Take away an A from here is nothing, just a 1. Take away A from there is a 1. But 2 A's take away 1 A, I'm left with an A. So my leftover will be on this side here, the first side. Okay, next I've got 5 B's here, 7 B's there, and 3 B's here. My smallest amount out of those 3 are the 3 B's, so I can take out 3 B's, or B cubed. That's gone from there, it's really a 1. 7 take away 3, that's b to the power of 4. And that's in the middle, so my leftover, I will squeeze it in the middle. And 5 take away 3, that is b to the power of 2. And that's on the end here. So please be careful that your leftovers are placed into their correct positions. You will either have 1 on the left side, 1 in the middle, or on the right side, the end. Alright, next we've got a C here, 1 C there, 1 C there, and 1 C there. Well, that means I can take out 1 C. It's gone from there, gone from there, and gone from there. That was easy. And last of all, I can see a D sitting here by itself. Obviously, I can't take it out because there's no D here in the middle or on the end. And so it's automatically a leftover on the end. And that's it. I have factorized this expression. It was only different because I had 1, 2, 3 terms. And I want you to expand it to check and see if you end up with what you started off with. And you can do that yourself. Okay, with our last question, D, I just managed to squeeze it in. Now, with this one, once again, we are simply factorizing. And we notice we have 1, 2, 3 terms. That's no problem. But our next check is we notice we have a negative sitting out here, okay? So we have to take that out as our first step. So get your brackets ready, just leave some space. I don't need space on that end. Now, I'm not going to write takeaway and plus just yet because I have to take out this negative. So I'll take it out and I'll leave some space here in case I have more leftovers. Now, because I've taken out this negative, okay, it's taken out here, that negative inside, I'll change it to a plus. And that plus inside, I'll change it to a negative. Remember that trick. Just write the opposite of what you see if you ever take out a negative. Because a negative times a positive will give me a negative. A negative times a negative will give me a positive. And now all we're going to do is take out any factors we can take out. Let's have a look. Starting with 12, our numbers. I've got 12 here. I've got 10 and 2. What's the highest factor of 12, 10, and 2? Well, I think it's 2 because I can divide them all by 2. So 2 is my highest factor that I'll be taking out. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 6, 5, and 1 are now my leftovers. 6 is on this end, 5 is in the middle, and 1 is on this end, which I'll just write in case I have nothing else. Next, my A's. I've got 4 A's here, an A in the middle, 1 A in the middle, and 5 A's on the end. The smallest amount out of all 3 is an A, so I can take out 1 A. It's gone from the middle. 4 take away 1 is A to the power of 3, or 3 A's, so that's on this side here. And 5 take away 1, I'm left with 4 A's, or A to the power of 4, and it's a leftover on this end over here. And my A's are taken care of. My next letter I see, or variable, is a B. So I've got 5 B's here, 7 B's here, and 3 B's here. So yes, I can take out B's because I've got them on all 3 sections. And now the smallest amount is 3 B's. So I'll squeeze it in here. I can take out 3 B's. So 3 B's are gone from there. It's just a 1. 7 take away 3, that's B to the power of 4. And that's a leftover in the middle. So I'll write it in now so I don't forget. And 5 take away 3, I'm left with B squared, or 2 B's, and it's on this end here. All right, I'm nearly there. Next, I've got a C. So C, C, and C. Can I take out C's? Yes. I've got 1 here, 1 there, and 1 there. So I can take out 1 C, and it's gone from all of these sides. No leftovers. It's just really a 1. And last of all, I can see I've got 3 D's here. A D on this end. Do I have a D in the middle? No, I don't. So I can't take out a D as a factor. Remember, it has to be taken out from all 3 sections. So the leftover D's stay where they are. So this D will be on this side, and I've used it, and D cubed, I'll squeeze it in just here. It stays there as a leftover. Okay, and just check, have we dealt with everything? Yes, we have. So we have factorized this expression. The highest factors we could take out was 2, an A, 3 B's, and 1 C. Everything else was leftovers. And please make sure your leftovers stay in their correct positions. And of course, we also took out a negative. And whenever you take out a negative, whatever operations you have inside will be the opposite. And I want you to expand this to make sure that you end up with what you started off with. Okay? And have a look. -2 times a +6 will give us a -12. And we had a -12 up here. I'm just going to do my numbers to make sure my negatives and positives are correct. -2 times a +5, that leaves me with a -10. And -2 times a -1, always look to the left, leaves me with a +2. And you can see that I've got a -12, yep, a -10, yes, and a +2. As a quick check to make sure negatives and positives are correct, we have done the right thing. Thank you.